Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the podcast where me and my brother and Dan talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. And we were just talking off camera. Not last season we had about 6, 7, 8 points which we had on news stories in the national. How boring has it been this season? There is no transfers. The bans, there's not really many this season because DOPs have obviously changed it, which is a good thing, but it gives us less to talk about. Dan, there's literally no news stories. Dean Skins for a weekend signed up for bees, but I don't think he played. Like, there's nothing really, is there?
No, no, that's the most exciting one, and that's saying something. I mean, the games have been exciting.
Hmm.
That's good. The games have been really competitive. The quality's gone up, so a lot to talk about with the games. And all of us have been, especially you, have been to a lot more games this year. So we've
Yeah,
got a bit more to talk about on that front.
I've been cracking in the miles this season. But we do have a special interview with Bristol forward Cam Hamill. So we've had both brothers on now, and Charlie, we just done it literally about half an hour ago. Really nice interview, top lad. And you can see how much he's thriving at Bristol.
Yeah, he's a good lad. He's only young, and yeah, he talks about kind of his National League journey. And one of the things I found most interesting was his junior career in Belfast, where they're the only team in the juniors. So yeah, it's a really good interview.
Yeah, you'll learn a couple stuff in it which I won't spoil. There isn't really much news. We created some talking points, obviously last week with the commentary, and there wasn't too much moans this weekend. So perhaps we've humbled everyone and brought them back to reality. But yeah, well, as you said, Dan, there's a lot of really good games this season, and there was 10 really good games again this weekend. So we'll cut to the interview of Cam now. I think it was about half an hour, 40 minutes. So enjoy the interview, and then we'll be back to talk about every game. We'll round up every single game. So enjoy the interview. Hello, welcome back. We got another special guest on the podcast. Charlie, do you want to introduce him?
Yes, today we'd like to welcome on a special guest. We've had his brother on. There's a hint. He's 20 years old. He's played GB under 18s and GB under 20s, but he's now making his name at his new team, the Bristol Pitbulls, who are on form right now, and he's joining them. So we'd like to welcome onto the podcast Cam Hamill. How are we doing?
Okay, thanks for having me.
Hey, Pitbulls, they're starting to get some points on the board. You guys are looking good this season.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough start to the season, but we've got rolling now. We had a few tough weeks in training, months as well, and working hard behind the on the rink, and it's just coming together now nicely for us.
And obviously, you made the move from MK. I'm sure we'll talk about it in a bit. But how was that moving down to Bristol and kind of fitting in quite a young team? I know you were moved down from Romford as well, and I think you're staying with Ewan. So how was that being surrounded by a couple lads your age as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's really positive for me being in a young environment, being a young British player too. We've all got the same goal at the end of the day, so it's a very positive environment for me to play in, and the coaching staff's helping out with us too.
Yeah, that's good. Charlie, do you want to take it back to the start then?
Yes, so you are a Belfast Giants junior. As we can tell, you're from Northern Ireland,
Yeah.
repping the Northern Ireland boys in the National League. But how was the Belfast Academy? How was it growing up in Belfast? I'm obviously quite far away from all the other teams.
I mean, my dad played hockey all his life, so me and my brother got chucked on the ice since we were 3 years old, and it just happened to be the ice rink was about 2 minutes from my front doorstep. It was a bit different playing there because we're the only team that's in the country. So we're obviously me, my brother, Mac, and Kale, and a few of my other close friends. We pushed each other like the whole way through juniors and made each other who we are today. And then just tough travels every weekend to Scotland when we got about the age of 12 to play all the Scottish teams.
What was the travels then? How long we talking traveling over to Scotland?
Um, from our rink that we would leave from, it would be about 15 minutes to the boat, and then we would get the boat over, which would be 2.5 hours to
Oh
Scotland.
my gosh.
And
And
then
then would
from there, it could be up to 6 hours up to Aberdeen.
Oh,
Yeah.
the commitment. Would your parents commit to this as well for you and your
Well,
brother?
my dad was actually our coach the whole way.
Oh, okay,
Our
that helps.
junior teams, yeah, he was our coach from under 10s to the SNL.
Yeah. What was it like playing in those leagues then? Because obviously we've got all the national obviously divisions, but the SNL has really kind of come on the last few seasons. What was it like back when you were growing up for it?
I mean, the Scottish, we always had a good challenge in the under 20s, under 18s, 16s. Them age groups were always challenging for us because we
Yeah.
didn't have a lot of players in our junior team. We had maybe a core group of 9 of us, to be honest. We'd go every weekend, so it was tough for us. But the first few years we got battered, and then by under 16s, 18s, we were competing for the league titles at Belfast.
Yeah.
We're only having 7 or 8 of us guys that were in the team every week. It was pretty amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the Belfast Giants under 16s, and you've got Kale, Cameron, Mac, and Carter. And to put in context, you played about 15 games that year, and you were all 80 plus points that year. So it felt like it was quite a lot of hockey for you boys.
Yeah, right there a lot.
What were the scorelines saying with that? Were you just competing against each other to get the most points?
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, that's what we were doing. I think we won like 30-0 against one of the Scottish
Oh my
teams.
gosh.
When the turnaround happened, we started getting a little bit better. Yeah, 30 goals in a game was pretty crazy.
Well, obviously you come out the juniors, and then well, we'll go into the Great Britain first. You got that call up to the GB under 18s, and you're probably playing with quite a lot of the young English lads as well. How was that getting your first call up to represent your country?
Yeah, it was a lot of hard work when I was younger to get to that stage, obviously. And then training, we'd have 40, 50 guys on the ice at the same time, all competing for a spot. So it was hard work, definitely. But whenever I got the call up, couldn't put it into words, to be honest with you. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And did you because just to go back to Belfast a little bit, because I know you played SNL together as well, but did you you talked about how you four Northern Irish boys had to kind of drive each other on,
Yeah.
because it sounded like when you were younger, it was kind of just you guys on the ice trying to compete with each other and develop together.
Yeah, I mean that's all we had. We had a few other guys like that I'm still friends with now that we would always be friends and we all push each other on, but that was it. We didn't have anything else. Or I didn't think we played a game until we were about 12 just because traveling over and stuff for us and we weren't
Really?
that good enough. So it was just hard work to get us to that stage.
Was
You
it was
really had
it
to put in the shift, kind of
yeah.
when you got to the games, and it's credit to that kind of core, because I don't think people would really know that you didn't play a game till you're 12. And
Yeah,
then suddenly you all made under 18s, or at least quite a few of you. I think all of you did. Did all of you make
yeah,
it?
we all made it, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And that's kind of credit to the hard work you four lads had to put
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. I was just trying to stick at it because from under 12s to 20s, like so many people on our team had quit. So it was
Really?
kind of like in your head at some point, oh, is it my turn to quit now? Or them kind of situations we were put in, but we just stuck by it.
Well, well, we've seen you've got a really good relationship with your brother. What was it like battling against him? Were you almost pushing each other, trying to get as good as you could?
Yeah, I mean, we're twins, so we're obviously going to be pretty competitive against each other, but we have that friendship side of it too that would always look after each other, look out for each other, like on the ice and off the ice. So it's nice that way too.
Yeah. Were you always on the same team together in juniors all the way up and until you made that move over to England?
Yeah, we always played together the whole way through. Mac as well, actually, because and Kel until I played at Kel with Kel at Solway
Yeah.
in the year. It was funny because whenever I left Hull the first year, I went to Solway on a
Yeah.
MK, so I ended up playing with Kel at Solway and Mac at MK. So we kind of never got a chance to get apart.
What was that like then? Because looking at that 22-23 season, obviously you had the games in the SNL, and then you come over to the NIHL. What was that step up like to the men's league? How did you find that as quite a small lad as well?
I mean, my first 5 or 6 games for Hull, I was pretty good. But I scored the
Yeah.
first Seahawks goal. I remember that pretty well. And then I scored the first goal for them in the league as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was a problem for me stepping in right away. I was obviously given a huge opportunity from Matty. I was only 17 years old and he housed me in Hull and it was a great opportunity and I took off really well at the start.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and we remember seeing your name kind of in the mix because it was a tough year for Hull that year, and you played the first two-thirds of it, I believe,
Yeah.
and you didn't have imports for the first third, and it was the results weren't quite coming your way. So how was that as a 17-year-old?
I mean, it was definitely tough for me. I mean, the first 2 months, 3 months, it was still kind of a dream for me. Obviously, moving country at that age, being able to play hockey full time, I was loving it, to be honest. And then after the first few months, when it kind of settled down a bit, it started getting a wee bit overwhelming, just getting
Yeah.
hammered every game. And to be honest, I didn't have a lot of people in Hull. Everybody worked, and I was on there like they're quite alone a lot, and it
Yeah.
got a bit overwhelming. So that's when I decided to make the move.
I was going to say it must have been quite hard, like a lad yourself, 17 years old. You've always been around that group with Mac, with Kel, your
Yeah,
brother, and then going off on your own to Hull. Obviously, you gained a lot of experience playing in that, but I can imagine it was very tough being on your own.
yeah. I mean, I'd never been away from home before.
Yeah.
Um, that wasn't the reason that I left. I
Yeah.
left because I just wanted a different opportunity, and I always thanked Maddie for giving me an
Yeah.
opportunity to start when I didn't have anywhere else to go.
Mhm.
But it just didn't work out for him in the end, and it was tough for me moving there as a 17-year-old kid and not being around a lot of people my own age because it was quite a
Yeah.
team that year.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a lot of old vets in that team.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I still speak to quite a lot of the boys. To be fair, that year
Yeah.
they're a very good group of lads.
I think Owen's one of them who come up. Obviously, he's a whole lad, and he's developed so well through that system. I can imagine, like in that first season, although it was quite tough with the results, you would have learned a lot from it.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot. And Matty Davies is a great coach. Like
Yeah,
we've got kind of similar plans. We're both small lads, and
yeah,
he
yeah. That's a good
taught me
point.
all the techniques that he used to do and that. So he's definitely a great coach, and I learned a lot when I was at Hull.
Oh, that's good. Go on,
Yeah,
Chaz.
Matty's a good friend of the podcast. And you had a nice little point scoring spell at Solway as well, and then you took the move to meet up with Mac again, and you went to Milton Keynes, where, as we know, you stayed there for another year.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I left Hull and went to Solway, 'cause I'm really friendly with Spud,
Yeah.
obviously, and yeah, but as soon as I left Hull, literally on the drive down to Solway, I drove from Hull to Solway to play in Solway that weekend that I left. And then I literally got a phone call from Joe Wilson when I was travelling home after the weekend at Solway and asked me would I be interested in coming down to MK. And it went from there, really.
Mhm.
What is it like then? Because obviously we know MK have the biggest fan base in the league, stepping out in front of 2,000 people. I'm sure that was a big part of why you signed there.
Yeah, it was amazing to be honest. I travelled over on a Thursday, train Friday, and then played Saturday, Sunday, and flew back. And every time I got to like a Wednesday afternoon, I'd be so excited to go back over at the weekend again.
Mhm.
I think that's something viewers don't actually understand about some hockey players. They just assume that they turn up, play the hockey, and then go back to work. But there is so throughout your whole playing career, and you're still what, only 20 years old. You've done a lot of traveling within
Yeah,
hockey.
yeah. I mean, I've played in a lot of teams now, to be fair, and I've traveled. I was obviously we're talking about the junior team as well. I used to
Yeah.
travel every weekend. I used to miss school on a Monday and half days on Friday, so I missed a lot of school from it as well. Traveling back and forth on weekends, and still even in senior hockey, traveling over at weekends and stuff. And then you're still tired midweek and getting ready to do it all over again.
That must have been so mentally draining as well. Um,
And
em,
yeah,
Go on, Charlie.
I was just gonna say, obviously the next year you got another opportunity in GB under 20s, which is always cool, and they talk about that. How was that year? And I believe you were with all the Northern Ireland boys again.
Yeah, we got reunited again. Yeah, it was special that tournament because it was all of our last year playing GB, and obviously it was at home in Dumfries, and quite a lot of us had played in Dumfries before, so it really felt like home there. Um, Unfortunately, we didn't get the result. I think we were two goals up with maybe 5 minutes remaining of the game, something like that.
Yeah.
And Korea just put the pressure on and beat us, but it was, I couldn't put it into words like how close we were to winning gold, and it would have meant so much to us winning it at home in our last tournament together.
Yeah. But you did sign back with Milton Keynes, and that was when your brother signed as well. So you were reunited with your brother. Did you both kind of know you were going to sign there, or was it a shock when he was like, "Oh, I'm coming back as well"? Who kind of signed first?
Well, obviously, as at MK the year before, and the conversations with Tim that like I was definitely going to come back.
Yeah.
And he asked about Carter too, and Carter was pretty open right away to come into Milton Keynes. We've obviously always been together, and we would continue to want to be together if it was possible every year. So that's why when we had the opportunity, we would take it. And then, furthermore, winning the cup together was just amazing. My whole family was over watching as well, so it was a really special moment for us.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah, and you were on a two-way with Thunder that year a little bit as well. How was it being one of the main men in the National One League? Because I don't know, that could have been your first time kind of being on the like top line, top PP
Yeah,
for a men's team.
yeah. I mean, Thunder had a tough season last year, so it was definitely hard because I was a Milton Keynes Lightning player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up the injury cover whenever there was no injuries and stuff. I played for the Thunder, and yeah, I mean it was a tough situation to be in. Played a lot of minutes. Some games we would get hammered, so I didn't really have a chance to do anything. So some games were 12, 13 nil. So
Yeah.
tough for me being in such a good team for Lightning and then being in the complete opposite end of the table when I go to the two-way team.
What was that season like then for Milton Keynes? Because one of mine and Charlie's favorite lines we've seen was you, your brother, and Corey McEwen. That is probably my
Oh, that was
favorite
a good
fourth
line.
line
That was
I've
a good
seen.
line.
And I think you played against Swindon. You won that game, and you guys were just absolutely buzzing. So how fun was it to play on that fourth line together? Because it was the standout line for me.
Yeah, I mean, me and my brother have always played together, and we obviously understand each other so well. We know where each other are going to be all the time. And then to
Yeah,
have an experienced player like Corey,
yeah.
who's so positionally smart, and we always knew where he was going to be, it just made sense. Like, he just obviously had the experience, and me and Carter just fed off that and turned out to be a good line. And we played a few games together.
Yeah, you two wingers. I remember it. You just kind of flipping. You hit everyone. I think your brother scored a goal with his head.
Yeah,
And then
for that one.
that was against Swindon. I was so frustrated. It was like, how lucky is that one? But it's just the way the Hamill brothers play is just absolutely clatter. Drop the gloves. Don't care who it is.
Yeah.
How did you kind of get that game of just absolute mayhem at times?
I don't know, to be honest. I think it's always been if we've been on Free Junior getting beat so much, and we had to bring the aggressive side to try and
Yeah.
get results, and it's just carried on. And I love playing the way I do, and it brings so much energy to the team. And whenever we played together and done it, it was good. It creates so much opportunities on goal as well by turning the puck over, hitting guys, and then get momentum for the team as well.
Yeah, obviously Charlie just listed a few things, but what kind of, for people who haven't really seen you play, what kind of player would you say you are? And was there any players when you were growing up? Obviously your dad played hockey, but was there any players you looked up to, whether that's NHL or playing in Belfast?
Um, I wouldn't say there was any particular player that I would have looked up to. Just always went to watch the Giants as a whole. They're such
Yeah.
a big club, and to watch them every week and learn from them was great. And yeah, what was the other question you wanted me to
I was
answer?
just to say, how would you describe your game
Oh
if you had
yes,
to sum it up?
funny because like I've always like last year at MK and stuff, I had a rule of four
Yeah.
go out and hit and fight and whatever you want to say. But this year, that's why one of the reasons why I made the move to Bristol. I wanted to be a bit more offensive, and I know like I can do it. I can
Yeah.
know I can score goals, make assists. So to get more of an opportunity to play an offensive role rather than being a rat around the ice is what I want to do. I don't want to be running around my whole career, but I'll still obviously have that edge to my game.
Yeah.
I am playing offense, but that was the reason why I made the move to Bristol as well, to play more offense.
Before
Hmm.
we talk about Bristol a bit more, I do want to ask one last question about winning that trophy, because that your first trophy in the men's division. Obviously, your whole family coming down with your brother, and we were watching it on the stream, the second leg of the final, but it just seemed like it was meant for Milton Keynes to win it that night, and sounded
Yeah,
from the stream, the crowd sounded bonkers.
yeah. I mean, it started off the year before when I went to Solway, won 4 trophies with Solway.
Did you? Oh yeah, of
Uh,
course, yeah.
where to win. And then when I moved to MK, I won the cup, which was the first trophy in the National
In the
League.
national, sorry, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so obviously my whole family came over. It was great. Got to see them before the game. Bit of encouragement was had. Yeah, and then we got the game time. I think we were drawing going into that game, weren't we?
Yeah,
Draw
or you might have been one
You're
goal
winning by
ahead.
one goal because
one
Glenham
goal
Park
ahead.
scored that goal, didn't he?
Yeah.
So that, I mean, we we hadn't lost the game at home from against Hull since the start of the season, the first
Yeah.
game. And so we knew, especially with the big crowd, it was a sellout crowd, cup final, midweek game. We knew we had all the energy. They had the long bus travel up, and then we just brought our game, what we were good at. We got on teams from the very start of the game at home, and the fans would give us the encouragement, and it just kind of went from there. We ended up battering them in the game, and I don't think we were ever in doubt, to be honest. After we got that big result away, we knew what was going to happen pretty much.
I think you were 3 or 4 nil up after the first period. Like you
Yeah,
guys, you fully went for it. You could see you guys wanted it. You're right, actually. They had that long bus journey, and you could kind of tell from the start.
yeah, we just jumped on them right away. Tim had a few words of encouragement, and we just got after them.
What
Yeah.
was it like? What was it like playing with some of those top players? You're talking Venus, obviously dropping down to Milton Keynes. That must have been fun learning off him. Obviously Rory as well last season. He was just ridiculous. What was it like playing alongside some of them boys?
Very good actually, and they were all very positive with us young guys trying to
Yeah.
learn the game. Rory was always a fourth, third liner like me
Was
until
he? Oh,
we moved
okay.
to Europe. Yeah, so he was very good with me, teaching me how to like do my role properly,
That's
and
good.
told me that the chances would come in the end. Fee as well. He was very good with us. He was always very thoughtful for us young guys and helped us out a lot during very training was a big one for us. Fee was very good with us in training, um, looking after us. And then Tim Wallace as a coach, it's just I've never had a coach like him before. The amount of detail he goes into,
Really.
and even on the ice, showing us how to do different bits and pieces, and his tactics are just second to none as well.
He's
Mhm.
been around it, and he obviously in
Yeah,
those top leagues, so he knows.
yeah, Tim knows how to do it.
Go on, Chaz.
Yeah, MK had a good year that year. Bit disappointing at the end, but did you love your time in MK? Have you only got positive things to look at going back?
Yeah, I've only got positive things to look back at winning the cup with a family member. You'd probably never do it again, to be honest. So that
Yeah.
was special. Um, Playing in front of Milton Keynes fans every week's amazing as well. So all the boys, we had a lot of good memories together that I'll never forget. And getting to play with my friends again, yeah, I'll never forget it.
Nice one.
Mhm.
Move to Bristol then. Talk us through it. How did it come about? Obviously, it was quite a bit of change for Bristol. Obviously, Barry coming in. Yeah, talk us through it. How did it come about?
Um, I was in Milton Keynes one day and the season had just finished, and I was kind of talking with Tim for next season, trying to figure out if something would work again. And I just got a phone call from Barry, and he asked me would I be interested in maybe coming down to Bristol. He was going to be taking over as head coach, and they were going to have a complete new rebuild of the team.
Hmm.
And right away, I knew that it would be getting like a lot of opportunity down there, and it's a great city with great owners as well. So I took it and spoke to my dad about it and my brother, and we came to the conclusion that it was probably the right idea for me to move down to Bristol.
Nice
Mhm.
one. Go on,
And
Chaz.
and it was obviously it was a new start under Bristol because they had a rough year last year. But there was a new atmosphere with Barry, and we've seen that turn around. How was the preseason, like the getting in training, seeing all the new boys, and how was that like?
I mean, it was a very exciting buzz around the changing room. Start of the season, getting to know everyone. Obviously, fresh teams can sometimes be a dangerous team because they're new and they've got a lot of firepower, and trying to create new friendships and stuff's a very powerful thing. So it was good vibe at the start of the season. We had a tough start to the season as well. Pre-season we had Sly and you guys Swindon obviously, and we had a good result away from home.
Yeah.
Not too happened in the home fixture, but
It's pre-season.
yeah, that's why
Getting the legs.
we had positive thoughts coming from the away fixture, which obviously give us
Yeah.
a lot of encouragement because we knew that we could compete with the big teams, especially
Absolutely.
and Swindon away is a hard game. So we knew we could definitely compete as a team, which was very positive for us.
Did you think the balance has been quite good in like the team? You've got, obviously got the veterans in Barry McKenzie. You did have Lydia there as a coach,
Yeah.
but obviously you have as well Tanner. He's obviously been made captain. He's been around it a while. Do you think it's been a good mix of kind of the youth and then the older guys as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a great mix, and it's only a positive thing for us to learn from the older guys. And Tanner Butler, he's a great captain.
Mhm.
He's very experienced, and he's quite calm too for us, which is a good thing. He's a very good captain. Yeah,
That showed Saturday night. Do you want to talk us through it? The 8 seconds to go, and
yeah,
I've been saying all season he has got an absolute rocket. He's gonna get one, and he saved it right to the end, didn't he?
yeah. I mean, we had a timeout, and Tosh was saying, just shoot the puck, shoot the puck. He faked it a couple of times, and I was like, oh, and then he ended up letting it rip, and it went in.
Oh,
1,000. I
the
think.
Bristol fans are credit to them. They are loud in that place when it gets going. As sadly we've seen Swindon lose there a couple times.
Yeah.
Seems to be a bit of a bogey place for us, but Bristol they do bring the fans there for a new team.
Yeah, the fans are very positive and they come in large numbers too. I think Saturday night was the busiest that it's been for us this
Yeah.
season so far. Obviously, our results recently have been getting better, so the fans are starting to come in. And yeah, I said to the boys when we were skating around at the end, slide in here tonight. And it turned out after the game, I found out it was the busiest that it had been all year. So yeah, it's definitely a loud building to be in. The horns are can be off putting sometimes, but a good for the ring.
Oh my!
I was saying to you,
today.
I was saying to you before we started recording. It just seems to be a lot of positivity going around the Bristol one. Are you feeling that within the dressing room as well with the lads?
Yeah, definitely. There's a very positive environment at the minute, and it's only going to get better from here as well.
Yeah, yeah. You talked about your different role this season and getting that step up on one of the top lines. You've already matched your goals this season to last season, and we're only 16 games in. What's kind of been the change of you this season? Obviously, we've seen you. I think you've played with quite a few guys on the top six, haven't you?
Yeah, our top six has kind of changed over the last couple of months.
Yeah,
I think we've kind of figured out who works best with who now.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, and the goals have started coming for me. I didn't have anything of any points for the first 7 games, and I was kind of like, oh, but then it's starting to come now. It's the last 8 or 9 games I've had point in every game, so
Nice,
starting to come for me together nicely. Yeah.
And
nice one.
how does that feel as a player who's this is kind of the first big point scoring streak of your National League career? How does it feel?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's after the rough start the season I had, and then I got injured as well. I missed a few
Yeah.
games. I was kind of a bit worried, but I got my first goal for Bristol against Milton Keynes.
Oh yeah, I remember that
Yeah,
actually.
it
Yeah,
was a big confidence booster for me. Um, yeah, and then it's just kind of went from there. I work hard in training every week and come to Saturday prepared, ready to go and try my best.
it all starts from the back. We got to bring him up. Tommy Napier, he's really come into his own the last few weekends. Obviously we know the CV he's got and where he's played, but what's it like playing in front of him? Because I think he saved 39 out of 40 on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy's a great goalie. He's a great guy off the ice too. He helps us out big time.
Mm.
Um, gives us a lot of confidence to play from the back as well. A bit
Yeah.
more because we can rely on him a bit. We shouldn't rely on a goalkeeper, but when you have a goalie like Tommy of his quality, it definitely gives us a lot of confidence.
It's the most important position on the ice, and when you know you've got a good goalie behind you, I'm sure it gives the team a lot of confidence as well. And then also you got Tyler as well, who's played a few games this season. I'm sure he's learning quite a bit from Tommy as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tyler was in nets for us when we got our first win of the
Yeah,
season.
against Sheffield, yeah.
Yeah, Nat Tyler's a great goalie too. Obviously, he's coming through the Great Britain system as well.
Yeah.
Got a tournament in a few months, so he's definitely buzzing at the minute too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have got to ask, surely Mr. Napier has some fun dressing room stories for you boys as well.
Yeah,
Considering he's played against some pretty good players.
yeah. I mean, we prefer not to talk about it, but he has a few funny stories.
Um, Bailey Harewood then. We know the talent he's got, but this season he has really stepped up for you guys, getting some massive goals. The shootout goal a few weeks ago. What's it like playing alongside him? Because I think he's got the quickest hands in the national. They're just so quick.
Yeah, Bailey's a great player. He's been great for us this season. It's great having a guy like Bailey, and when like you got 2 minutes left of the game and you're a goal down, you can rely on Bailey and Nick Price as well. You can rely on both of them guys to get a goal for you in a crucial time of the game. And he's so strong as well. Like, he's one of the strongest people in the league, I think, on the puck as well. So
I remember against Milton Keynes, he was the one who made the play to you at the back door, and then you
yeah,
tapped it in. That must have felt quite good.
yeah, that was that was pretty good. Yeah.
You guys have got it to penalty shots a lot, and we know penalty shots is pot luck. But I think me and Charlie were saying the fact that you guys are frustrated after getting points against some of those top guys for losing on penalty shots. I think that just shows how far this team has come from last season.
Yeah, I mean, we try to not talk about last season in the change room as much as we
Yeah,
can. Obviously, the stats are going to be there, and it shows that we do get points from games. That last year, the game would have just been done, and we fight every game right to the final whistle, which is good. And
yeah,
then get the penalty shootout, like it's just a flip of a coin, really.
yeah.
Mhm.
It is.
And I can hold my hands up. I'm a man who can admit it. I put you boys to finish bottom, and you're proving people like me wrong. Like the game against Peterborough, I think I know you lost it in regulation, but personally, I think that sums up Bristol so far this season. Is obviously we know what happened on the first weekend, but then suddenly you're 5-1 down, and you could have collapsed, but you lost the game. I call it 5-4 because it was an empty net.
Yeah,
um, that shows the character in the dressing room for a team which is fighting now. They are in it. They're in every game against the playoff champions last year.
yeah. So Tosh and Barry really have a positive impact on us in the changing room, and we really have a fighting mentality as one of the bottom teams that are trying to make playoffs.
Yeah,
And we're very confident that we can make playoffs. Like every game is a playoff game for us right now. Like we're battling. I think we're joint with seventh, eighth, ninth, and tenth.
yeah,
We're all pretty close in points. So every game for us is massive. With Solway game on Saturday was massive for us to get two
yeah.
points them with them having a game in hand. It was huge. But every game now we just fight the final whistle and see what happens at the end of the day. Just try and get as much goals as we can, shut the back door, and then try and get wins.
It This season there's been a common theme of home advantage, teams winning games at home, and it's good to see you guys are really nailing down that home form and putting on really good performances for the Bristol fans as well.
Yeah, I mean the I think last Saturday or a couple of Saturdays ago was the first one we won at home. I think we took it to penalty shootout a few
Yeah.
lost, but we've got one. I think that was the second home win in a row we've got now. So
Yeah.
the fans are definitely excited for us at the minute.
Mhm.
Obviously, Barry coming in, his first, I think, proper coaching role of the team. What's it been like playing under Barry? Obviously, a Scotsman himself. He's played in the Elite League as well. I'm sure he's got a lot of experience. But what's it been like playing under him?
Yeah, Barry's a great coach. He's very understanding of us young guys too. That sometimes we're not going to have a great game, and he's just very positive with us and pushes as hard as we can go. He's obviously been around the Elite League for a long time and has a lot of experience to pass on to us young guys. So he's a great coach for us.
We could go through so many of the players, but there's one last player I wanted to ask about. That's Nick Price. He kind of had a start to the season where he's trying to find out the league, but now he's found out the league. You're starting to see how much quality he has. What's it like playing against him? Has he given you any tips, advice? Is he helping you in training, etc.? Because he's on 16 goals this season. That's not bad going.
I think is he top or second?
He's second behind Gardiner, I think.
Second top goal, yeah. We had a slow start to the season. For him to be sitting there right now, it kind of shows you the quality of player that he is.
Yeah.
He's a great player. He's one that we can rely on every week. He's very consistent, works very hard off the ice too.
Yeah.
He's very strong, and he pushes us all on very hard as well. He's got a goal that wants us to win every week, and we follow in his path.
He always seems to be the guy when you're down by one goal, he'll get that goal. He'll take
Yeah,
that responsibility of getting you guys back into the game, and that kind of builds momentum for the rest of you boys.
yeah, definitely. We can rely on him every week. That's what I'm saying. He's so consistent for us, and
Yeah.
rely on him as being a senior player and as our import. He's our only import forward, and it must be tough for him too to be the only import forward.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how well he's doing at the minute. To be honest, for us as a team having a slow season, to helping him out now because he has a goal of his own. Everyone has a goal, and he has a goal too, and we're trying to push him on to get there. To be fair, I'm so happy for him how he's doing right now as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Go on,
And
Charlie. Have you got any more?
and we spoke about kind of how you moved to Bristol to get them topper minutes to play on the ice more and be one of them guys who can be relied on. What is your goal going into the end of the season? We know obviously as a team you guys want to make playoffs, but what is your personal goal as a 20-year-old who's developing still?
To be honest, I'm just taking it week as it comes at the minute. I've got a rough goal in my head where I want to be points wise, and I want the team to make playoffs. So that's my goal for the team to make playoffs, and as a whole, as a team, we want to make there. So, um, and apart from the end of the season, like I'm not sure. For as far as I'm concerned, I'm really enjoying Bristol right now.
Yeah.
See myself being here for a long time. So we'll just see what happens come the end of the season.
Nice
That's the
one.
key.
Well, we've got you on Friday. I'm sure it's going to be another cracker.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's always a tough one up in Bristol in the M4 derby. We appreciate you hopping on. Charlie always ends with this question. Because go on, Charlie.
yeah. What's your message to the Pitbull fans, the Bristol fans?
What's my question?
No, your
The message.
message.
Oh, my message. Um, I don't know. I just keep staying positive for us. The wins are coming. Keep doing what you guys are doing, and we'll do our best to try and make playoffs for you.
Nice one. Cam, we'll see you on Friday. Good luck for the rest of the season, and we're really happy for you getting those points this season.
Perfect. Thank you very
Nice
much.
one. Oh, and welcome back. Thanks, Cam, for hopping on. We appreciate that. Yeah, really sound lad. First game of the weekend then, and on the National League website, it has got the one we were at, the Swindon Wildcats against the Hull Seahawks. And oh boy, did that get the heart rate going. We'll start off at the start of the game. Hull penned us in our zone, Charlie, for about 2 minutes. We didn't get the puck. And then our first attack dumped off the boards. Nelly knows the boards like the back of his hand. And he tucks away the goal. And I think from then on, we kind of controlled the game a lot.
Yeah, yeah. For the first period, we definitely controlled it, and yeah, it was a good play. It was a good coaching move. He put himself between the two youngsters, Dylan and Josh, and Dylan played a very good dump into the boards, and he knew I don't know if he knew that was going to bounce back like that, but you play your luck, and Aaron knows how to whack a puck in a net, so he's good at that.
Yeah, and then it was 1-0 end of the first, Dan. Got into the second period. I think it started again, just like it was in the first. Swindon getting that offensive zone pressure. We got our second goal, and then fair play to Hull. Obviously, they were missing Hayward. They did battle back into the game, and they scored a really nice goal from Bobby Chamberlain, set up by Bonner, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They had like stages in the game where they would sort of have the pressure, and then they were sort of on the back foot a bit, and then they'd get their way back into it. I think Zamostra was a key part of that. He sort of, when they had to weather out the storm, he was the one that was really stepping up for the team and really giving them a chance. And I think they sort of thrived off that, and they sort of built from Zamostra, and I think that really pushed the team on later in the game as well.
But then it just showed how quick hockey can turn. The third period was just majority Hull Seahawks. They had lots of offensive zone pressure. Matty obviously said something in the change room, switched something up. They were getting a lot of chances, but I thought Swindon defended it really well. and kept Rennie to kind of seeing everything, and he was making some really solid saves as well. I thought both goalies were good. But they got a power play opportunity. Svek, we knew he'd score against Swindon. He always loves a goal against Swindon. They tied it up 2-2, and it was looking like could it go to overtime again? Is there a late goal in it? And our boy Charlie, Josh Shaw, he ices the puck, and he admitted himself it was a bad play. He just flung it up the ice. He iced the puck. He was fuming, but it was blessing in disguise, wasn't it? Because he did what he does best. He forechecked and he got that breakaway opportunity and the composure on that to take it round Zamostra.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm happy for Josh. He deserves that, and it's been coming for him. This year's really been a breakout year for him. His ice time's increased. He's getting more minutes, and you can see his confidence growing. And that was just kind of the icing on the cake so far. Is he took his opportunity after getting a point earlier in the game as well. And it's frustrating that wasn't the game-winning goal really because it deserved to be.
Yeah, I think Zamostra had been saving every shot at him, and it was very clever of Josh to kind of move Zamostra and take it round him. And then he gave it the celly as well. But Dan, that was not the end. Hockey's not that simple. And Chris Jones, for some reason, it just flicked off his stick. We know what he was meant to do. The boards in Swindon aren't actually as big, or as tall as some of the other boards in the other rinks, but Chris Jones flicks out he didn't mean to today. Too many delay of game, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And then Hull pulled the goalie straight away. And when you've got the likes of Sobchak, Svek, Cornel, Chamberlain, Bonner, well, actually, to be fair, Bebris hit the post, didn't he? He did the what do you call it? The alley-oop all the way down the ice. It hit the post, and from that, Hull went up the other end and tied it, didn't they? And it was a really nice play from Cornel.
Yeah, it was really good. Obviously, you were saying about obviously changing through the game. Matty obviously did change the lines. He put all the imports on one line
Yeah.
for the third period, so he really went for that offense. But it was a really nice play. Their goal, their equalising goal was really nice. Cornell had a really nice pass across to Bobby, across goal, which was I don't think anyone really saw it. It
No,
sort of just went through everyone.
yeah, those we
Um,
only had four men, didn't we? So
Yeah, so they took full advantage of that, and like you say, when you've got obviously the likes of Sobchak, Cornel, Svek, and all that on the ice at one time, they're going to play the puck around, and yeah, it was just a really nice play and a really clean finish as well to obviously take it into overtime.
yeah, so it goes to overtime, and actually, Swindon dominated the overtime period. We had so many chances. Bebris had one. Bricknell had a slap shot just in front of the goal. I was actually watching it back. It was a very good save from Zamostra, and then Nelly gets right in the slot. Charlie. Samosha makes another unbelievable save, and maybe it was tiredness, but Bobby Chamberlain doesn't quite get the puck, does he? And Malas doing what he does best, forechecking, stick lifted it, got the puck back. Malas to now, and you know how the story ends.
Yeah, there's a reason he's got like 700 points in 400 games. Even if they do, yeah, what a goat. What a goat. Malas cooked. Now's been cooking recently, man.
Yeah.
Underrated at the moment. Like, come back from an injury, bang, goal, bang, goal, bang, goal. I think he's on over a goal a game. He's been phenomenal, and the vets really showing him how to do it at the end of the game. They just really are turning up, and yeah, Thomas hasn't quite got the points in probably the last three games, but the work rate never stops, and he sets an example to every player on the ice. As it's like maybe the points aren't coming in the games, but I'm never going to stop forechecking. And when the goal went in, I don't even think he celebrated. He just tried to
Yeah.
get breath back. He was knackered.
It
So
was
was Debris.
it was just one of them, like, oh, thank goodness, Dan. Like, I think my reaction, I just come and hugged you. I was like, oh my goodness. We're like, we did deserve to win the game, I think, in the end. I know Hull had a great third period, but on the whole, I think we outshot them. We had the chances in overtime, and I'm glad it finally went our way. And we got the 2 points. And that's a big point for Hull as well. Like getting a point in Swindon. I know they've struggled the last few seasons in Swindon. I don't think they've beaten us in our own rink. So that's a big point for them. And that finished that game. I know we've talking a lot about it, but it was a very, very good game. On to the next game was and shout out Josh Shaw, he got player of the month for Swindon as well, by the way. Well deserved. We've been very impressed with the steps he's taken this season. The first of the double header, Telford versus Bees. And Wow, the improvement of Telford this season, Charlie, has been well, from the start of the season where it just wasn't going their way every single weekend. Tom Watkins made those changes, and it's safe to say those new imports have settled. And Yokoyama's been actually very good at Romford, but maybe it was just a case of not quite the right team. And he's brought in Thompson and Henderson, a bit more experience. They've played at that high level, and that is showing for Telford at the moment. Them both having 4 point nights.
Yeah, they're turning up, and it's just the difference confidence can do for a team. As we know, Brad Day got our Player of the Week, and thoroughly deserved. I think it was 66 out of 67 saved over the weekend, and Brad Day's got an 8.5 save percentage in the season before the weekend started. Like a guy who's just gone and saved 66 out of 67 over the weekend, but he has an 8.5 on the season. It just shows you what confidence does and how important it is to just be confident in your team. And when you play confident, your shots go in more and all of this. It's just a confidence game, hockey. And now Telford are in a playoff spot. So yeah, they really have really turned it up. And we knew Tommy Watkins and the team wasn't gonna be flat the whole year. We knew they were gonna have to wake up, and they made the right changes. And yeah, Thompson just likes shooting through the legs.
Oh
Um,
wow, he did that on the Sunday. We'll probably come to
yeah,
that in a
he
bit.
just yeah, they're very good, them two Canadians, and their CV spoke for themselves. And we thought they're gonna come in and they're gonna do well, and they're doing that. So yeah, and their other players are coming to form. But a shout out player I wanted to give was Mackenzie for them. I forgot his first name now.
Scott
Scott.
No, the other one. Oh,
Because
Ferguson. No,
Ferguson,
Ferguson.
yeah,
Sorry, Ferguson. I wanted to give out a shout out to Harry Ferguson because his season's going very under the radar.
a goal and 2 assists he got on
he's on 20
Saturday.
points in 17 games or something like that.
He's on 21 points in 19 games, over a point per
Yeah,
game.
and that's big for him. Last year he wasn't. I don't think he was a point a game, and he's
No.
really stepped up, taken a top six role for them. And I think this is probably one of his best seasons of his career when it comes to points. So massive shout out to him. I think he's been someone who's gone under the radar this year, and I've noticed from day one he was on the top lines and he's not got off them yet. So that is credit to him.
Yeah,
Even
I
during a
think he
tough
might
start, he
be.
kept getting points.
I
He's
think
just
he
Scott
might be
McKenzie at
playing,
Luton,
but
I believe,
I
or
think he
something like
might be playing between the two imports. So that is a deadly little line, and it shows that he's kind of got the connection with those guys.
Yeah, he
And
started
obviously
off with Mackenzie and what's his name? Sky
Skaleski.
Skaleski.
Gillespie.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so he started off there and he's been on form, got put in the new imports. Yeah, he's Ferguson's a player I rate highly.
Sorry, Skaleski.
Yeah.
Must be a
Yeah,
new guy,
if you're
another
new to
import.
this podcast, Charlie is the worst at pronouncing players' names. So he's not insulted in any way. He is just crap at pronouncing. Me and Dad just have to get used to it. On to the next game, and the Bristol Pitbulls. They just oh Dan, 2-1 win against the Solway Sharks, and it all starts with Napier. We got to go to him first. 39 out of 40 saves on the night. He is just coming into his own, isn't he? And when a Napier's locked in, it's tough to get past him, and it seems like Solway had a tough little night trying to get past him.
Yeah, 100%. The whole team is just thriving off everyone's obviously improvements. Like everyone said, the goalie's always the most important, and if your goalie's playing well, it gives you a chance every night. And that's why they brought in Napier. Like, look at his CV. They didn't bring him in for no reason. And they're a team that has struggled in the past few seasons. They needed that goalie that can sort of save them.
Yeah.
And it looks like that's exactly what he did against Solway. He kept them in that game for the whole game, and it got on to the last, what was it, 8 seconds. And I mean, that's what you want from a goalie, and he's just as much to thank than as well as Butler as well. Like
Yeah.
Napier at one end, and obviously Butler scoring at the other end. They both go hand in hand, and yeah, it's an unbelievable performances from Napier at the minute. They're coming out fast, and yeah, he's a really top class goalie at this level.
Yeah, let's talk about it then, because I'm gonna take some credit. I've been banging on all season. Butler has got this. I think I said this on a podcast episode a couple weeks ago. Butler has got an absolutely lethal slap shot, right? And I said to Dan, I'd love to see him rip it because he does make some nice plays where he fakes the slap shot and makes the pass, which I think is a sign of an intelligent player, not just hitting and hoping. But as you said, 8 seconds to go, the clock's ticking down. The puck just comes to him, and he absolutely blasts it into that top corner. And when Dan come to me and said, "Have you seen Butler's goal?" and Dan showed it to me, I was like, "That is what I've been saying all season for him to just slap it." And he gave it the old knee celebration, Charlie, as well. And from speaking to Cam, it sounded like the Bristol fans are just loving it at the moment. They're having a team which is competitive every night. And you was even seeing it when they were losing games on penalty shots and stuff. They were still so positive, and that is a huge win in front. I think their biggest crowd this season. Charlie?
Or is it me? I thought. Oh, sorry. We've had a long podcast recording, but no. Yeah, Bristol. They're staying in games. I said on the interview, as you guys have all heard. Um, the game against Peterborough sums up Bristol for me this year. They lost 5-4, but they were 5-1 down. And last year, Bristol would have got smothered in that game. It would have probably ended up 10 goals. It was 4-5 after the first period. This year, they take it to a one goal game and lose by an empty netter. That is a massive difference. And they proved me wrong. I did not think they'd have this in them. And it just shows like the mentality of the team is the most important thing. If they buy into what the coach says, if they're a team which believes in each other and they are a close knit group, you can win games, even if you're not the best team on paper. They took MK to overtime in their own rink, and
Beat us.
yeah, they beat us. Well, they always do that anyway. But yeah, they're doing well, Bristol, and hopefully we can get one over them on Friday. But credit to them, they are really staying in every game, and they're making the league. One of the reasons the league is more competitive this year is because Bristol are more competitive this year. We're
Yeah,
not getting blowouts because Bristol were one of the teams getting blown out last year. This year they don't. This
yeah,
year they're beating teams who they shouldn't beat on paper. So yeah, I'm happy they're doing well for the league's sake at times,
yeah.
but
Even though
they
they
are
are
our
our rivals,
rivals. So I
I'll
like
say
to see
this: I
them
know
lose.
they're our rivals. I'm going to get stick for this, but I do have a little soft spot in terms of I'm really happy for Bristol and seeing the Bristol fans really happy as well because I know how tough it was last season for them, and the fact they kept behind the team. And Barry has brought this kind of new. I know they have this phrase, Dan, in Barry we trust, and like he has just brought this new kind of positive vibe around Bristol, hasn't he?
I reckon it's
Yeah,
the beatbox we had. I reckon he's brought that into the dressing room.
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy for Barry. I think he had the toughest job coming into this
Oh,
year. I
mate.
think to turn around a team like Bristol, like the past 2 seasons that they've had, like you can say it straight, like it's been awful. Like I think everyone can agree. Like they've had an awful 2 years, and I think Barry coming in as player coach, and obviously everyone was giving him doubt anyway. No one really wanted him to be player coach at the start, and now he just turned this team around. Like I was saying in the group chat yesterday at that Peterborough game, I was like, this is the difference.
Yeah.
Like the way that they've done that is just so good, and Barry should be so happy the way he's recruited this team. He's not recruited the best players, but you can tell he's recruited the guys that can be in
Right
the dressing
players.
room and the mentality. Like Charlie said, like he's recruited these guys that can really work together as a team. And like you say, on paper they might not be the best team, but the way they can perform on the ice is the most important. And we've always said it: you don't need a team full of superstars to be a good team. You just need to have a good mentality, and that's what Bristol have got this year.
Yeah, this episode's probably turning into quite a Bristol kind of heavy
It's getting a bit
episode. Yeah.
emotional, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
The thing is, we've said before the season, I know you were saying, Charlie, even if they don't get playoffs right, we know how competitive it is this season. They're battling for that playoff spot. They have come on leaps and bounds, and yeah, it's just nice to see them get some wins. The streak is over. It reminds me of the Undertaker where the streak's over, but what a run. 33 games unbeaten in the league at home for the Milton Keynes Lightning, and it was their rivals, the Peterborough Phantoms, who beat them in overtime. Where do we start on this one? I've just watched the highlights, and it was an end-to-end game, some massive chances. I think both goalies were quite good as well, making some big saves. Um, we had
Slava.
the The MK Lightning fan meltdown on Twitter after the game, blaming the refs. We've talked about refs so much on this. It's not the refs' fault, I don't think. Yes, there's penalties being given, but I'll say this right now. The MK Lightning had a 2 minute power play in overtime to start the overtime period. If they score on that 2 minute power play, I really don't think there's any complaints about the referees because they would have won. But it just seems, Charlie, and this isn't all MK fans. This isn't all MK fans. We're not digging.
A lot of
It
them,
does
yeah, were backing it, yeah,
it
but
does seem
other ones.
like when Milton Keynes do lose, they do look to the refs first. Refs are going to make mistakes in all games. The refs missed a clear penalty in the Swindon game, but if we'd have lost that game, it's not because of that. They're going to make mistakes. They're human. They don't have replays. They don't have any of that. But it does seem like every time they lose, they they do look at the refs, don't they? Refs.
It's funny, you go on a 33 game unbeaten streak, it's just phenomenal. And there's a meltdown after the first loss.
No.
It's like, whoa, and then obviously we know the next night they beat a very tough team to beat away. But it's one of the things, isn't it? Like Slava's good this year. Peterborough are a good team. They're depthy. We've seen MK struggle a bit more at home than they have done last year. Well, they only lost one game last year, but there's been Swindon took them to a 1 goal game. Sheffield took them to overtime. It's closer in their rink. It's the games are closer, but you know, credit to Phantoms, but also credit to Milton Keynes is people are desperate to win there. Like it is such a cool feeling when you win there. It's such a big flex. Oh, we just beat MK and MK because you won 33 times. And yeah, it's a very good achievement for MK as a club. But now they've got to start the next streak, which is exciting as well. Can they beat 33? I doubt it, but if they do, fair play.
That
But
is some
the
record-breaking
refs in this league they do get a lot of stick. I probably used to be a bit more of a culprit than I am now. It is easy to blame the refs after a game. You look at them and you go, "Oh, that's definitely a hooking," when it probably wasn't. But it's easy to be refs from the sidelines when it's a lot harder to be a ref on the ice. And yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
simple, isn't it? If you're annoyed at the refereeing, my best tip for you is to go to a referee training course and see if you can keep up. Because I couldn't, so I'm not going to moan at refs too much.
yeah. Like I don't think people realize how hard it is to try and control 12 guys on the ice at the same time, and you've got two coaches on the bench, and you've got 10 other players on the bench as well. It is much tougher, and like we're not going to go too much into it, but like they don't have to do this. There's much better paid jobs, and they're making their time because they love the game. And yeah, we're not going to go into it, but they still got a point out of it. That's the thing. It's not like they've just been blown out. They got a point out of it. It was Luke Ferrara again, Dan, and I had this chat with Charlie. Luke Ferrara for me is probably the best big game player. Now, there's probably going to be players like Kieran Brown who's probably annoyed with that, but every big moment he seems to step up in Peterborough. The playoffs last year, he stepped up. He got that winning penalty. He also scored some big goals in those group stages as well. He got some points in the semi-final. The big game against their rivals, he steps up. Like he is just such a big game player. And we know the quality he's got. We know the quality he's got, but you can see the difference in those players who just step up, can't you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's a Peterborough boy. Like he's played in Peterborough back in his youth, and obviously he was always good when you had all the three Ferrara brothers in Peterborough. And the thing is, Slava's got trust in him. Like Slava knows he can put him out in these big situations, and he's going to perform. And I think when you're a player like Ferrara, and you know a coach like Slava has got trust in you, you're going to perform. And having a coach that can put you out in those situations and just sort of almost just look at you every time. I think that gives the player some sort of pride. And the thing is, Ferrara's got some pride to hold, so he's always going to keep performing in those situations. And I mean, the way he's doing it at the moment, he's going to be getting all the praise from Slava and everyone. So he's going to be loving it. And I mean, yeah, the best feeling for a player is to have the coach that's got faith in you.
Teams never learn, do they? Lacking with the assists. I'm joking. They are impossible to stop. Those two as a pair, it's just chalk and cheese with them. But yeah, the Peterborough Phantoms, they end the streak. But as you said, credit to Milton Keynes for getting that streak and the fact that we're talking about it, that the streak has finally been broken. is even more of a credit for how long they kept it up. And yeah, it's a big 2 points for Peterborough as well. I think they're trying to getting into some form. Go on,
The
Dan.
thing, the thing is, it's not really over. Like they're not pointless at home yet. They've
No,
still got a point, so it's sort of half still there. So come
who's
on,
going to
FK
be the
fans,
one to beat him in regulation?
you still got a little bit to hold on to there. Just hold on to it until you get beaten regulation, and then you can obviously have another meltdown.
It is funny. It is funny.
But they're
But
rivals, we gotta keep the rivalry going. And oh mate, that Slava, like I have to mention him because he came on the podcast. That guy cooks, man. He's so good. Like it was a cup game. I know Peterborough got knocked out of the cup, but that kept them in the cup for another night.
yeah,
And it's just, man, that guy is mental. He is actually mental. Like he's the guy who goes into. I know they lost. Well, last year they got 6-0 by MK. This year they're 2-0 up. Like he's very good coach, man, and credit to him. And then there's a new top goal scorer in the league, and I believe he's scored in MK as well, and that's Cameron Hoof.
is
He's
he?
just
Is he the new
taken top
one?
goal scorer in the league.
Yeah,
18,
he's top goal scorer now. Yeah,
18 goals, man. They're
Yeah,
cooking. Slava's import signings have been very good this year.
yeah.
Um,
Levine had a great game. He got man of the match.
if you didn't listen to the Slava interview at the start, he talked about Cameron Hoof and the reason why he signed him and the analysis he put into it. And I love the coach. I find him so fascinating. And
Oh, we know Charlie. No,
big
I'm
big
joking.
congratulations, Slava. I
um,
appreciate that win.
um, the final game on the Saturday, the Leeds Knights doing what they do best. A 5-2 win at home. Shout out to Bo Neely. He got his 50th point for the Knights. Um, Kieran Brown on the score sheet. Finn Braden getting a pair as well, Dan. They're just doing it. They're rolling again. We said a couple weeks ago, or Charlie mentioned it first, that I think it was after they lost to Milton Keynes on penalty shots. That was it. They locked in and they've won every game since then. And yeah, they just look unbeatable at the moment, don't they? Well, I
yeah,
say that. I say that. The Sunday, I think we gave them a really good game, which we'll talk about. But they just get it done, don't they?
yeah. That's it. And another thing, they've obviously got people like Braden this year that are consistently getting points again. Like they didn't have that last year. He was obviously getting points, but not consistent like this year. And we've said it so much about depth and how important depth is, and when you've got the depth that they've got and the depth scoring that they've got, you're going to win games. And I think when you're going into these games and your leads, you're sort of looking at those top guys, and you sort of go into these games thinking, right, we need to stop these guys, we need to keep these guys wide, but you can't stop everyone. And the fact that obviously the third line that we've seen live at the first game of the season, I can imagine they're still doing the same thing. And it just makes it so much harder for teams. And yeah, the way Leeds just build their teams every year is just, he does it with, Aldridge does it with a reasoning, and he builds his teams to win. And you can see it throughout the whole mentality of the team and the way they play on the ice.
Yeah, it's just again Sam Gospel having another good game. The Sundays then, Romford only having one game, and this was probably the biggest weekend for the cup. And Romford were like, no, we're going to win our game and we're going to secure that cup position. And they needed to win it, and they did, Charlie, on home ice, 6-3 in the end. Sean Miller, he's good, isn't he? Back-to-back hat tricks now. And he got the game winning goal as well. Oh, sorry, no, he didn't. But he got a hat trick. They're just so good at home. We go on about it every week. People probably get bored, but they are the real deal, and it's not fluke. Like they're doing it to every team now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're starting their own streak. They're the new team to beat in their rink. But nah, they're doing very well, Romford, and it all stems from good import signings. All three imports are contributing, including Yokohama, who's
He
still
got
the
the game winner. Sorry, he was the game
yeah.
winner.
And yeah, they're doing really well, man. Romford they got buzz about them. Ethan James, Miller, when they're both on the podcast, they talked about the dressing room so good. And you can feel that when they're on the ice and when they got a one game weekend and that game gets you cup qualification. Raiders ain't losing at home in that game. And I know, and to be fair, I will say this, Steel Dogs were losing some players, and we did mention this at the start of the season. They're missing Nordstrom, Ulrich, and Halfors that game. and they're three big players to miss in your top six, and so it the effect of having two ways and injuries together is playing its part on Steel Dogs at times because it's tough to win that game when you're three top six forwards down. It's not an easy game to win. So but Romford did their job and Steel Dogs were slightly short benched in the forward core.
Yeah. Dan, it has to be said, no one, well, not no one, I think 90% of fans wouldn't have put Romford to make the cup in that top four. So a little clap to Romford. I think their home form's been a massive part of that, winning all their home games, I think, in the cup. Romford Raiders getting a cup spot, and I can't imagine what that semi-final is going to be like. I assume it's going to be a midweek, and you bet I'm going to try and get a ticket for that game, and support on both teams in that matchup. But yeah, what an achievement for them. And I think a lot of people had them missing playoffs before this season, obviously with the new ownership, a lot of new team, but the way they've stuck in together, and we said that there's going to be a couple shocks in this cup. It's only 10 games. You just need to win your home games and then a couple away games or a couple points away, and that's exactly what they've done.
Yeah, they've gone about it perfectly. A team like that should be going about it like that. And I think, yeah, no one expected them to do what they did. Um, they've been unreal at home. Like that's the main thing. It's just they've been unreal at home, and no one can seem to beat them at the minute at home. And obviously, we know Leeds have done it,
Only
and like,
just though, a
yeah,
couple.
yeah, and that was really close as well. So massive credit to Romford, and I mean, I think they're going to be getting more fans in now. I think these
Yeah,
home
a
victories are
lot of
going to
them
be big for the club.
a lot of them come back actually. So they had just under 1,000 fans, which is really good because they were starting the season off with 500, 600.
Yeah, it is really good, and I mean, having a team like Romford growing like that is so good. And I mean, a lot of people were just grateful to have them back in the league, but now they're actually performing, and I mean, yeah, massive credit to everyone involved, like we've said for the past 2 weeks. But it's just a massive achievement for this, and they've just got to take it step by step now. And I mean, the thing is, no one can be annoyed because they would never expect it to get there, and
Yeah,
now they've got it, and it's just it'll just push them on even more. And you know what Romford are like with momentum, so that'll just
yeah.
push them on further.
Fair play to Romford. We'll mention the cup right at the end. We'll talk through the four teams which are in it. On to the Leeds Swindon game, and I made the trip up there before our trip up to Leeds. And before we get into the game, I just want to shout out little Arnie Evans. He come up to me and he said he loved the podcast. He gave me a fist bump. He gave me a score prediction as well, and got a picture with him. So shout out to him. Really nice lad, really nice family. And then I don't have the name of the other lad who come up to me, but he come up to me and gave me a massive hug. So shout out to him as well. I think he gave a few of the players hugs as well, but shout out to him. Um, the love in Leeds has been really good, and yeah, we obviously it's so humbling having people come up and say they listen to all the podcast episodes, and honestly we just do this for fun. We don't get paid, we don't get none of that. We just do this for fun, and seeing people come up to us and saying they listen to us every weekend, like it means so much. So
I
shout
want
out
the
to them.
shout outs. Shout out to Ryan Wells's mum.
Yeah, Ryan Wells'
Come
family.
on,
The whole family.
the
Yeah.
whole bag. We love him. Wells's mum. Big ups.
They even got me in the pub. That's how
Yeah.
good they are. They got me in the pub.
Shout out to Tyler Wells, Ryan's brother as well. Really sound lad. But yeah, everyone who supports us. But onto that game. The Cats obviously taking a three goal lead. The first half of the game, we played an unbelievable game. Reed Sayers getting two. Shout out to him. His 100th point for the Wildcats. His second goal was an absolute snipe. And then we just got Kieran Brown. He hasn't had, for his standards, the greatest start. Obviously for his standards, but for anyone else, that would be a really good start still. Charlie, 4 goals for Kieran Brown, and they weren't your typical highlight reel Kieran Brown goals. They were the goals from a captain who, when their team's down, just gets them back in the games. He gets the scraps around the net, and he got them back in it. And the thing is, right, Swindon, we gave it everything. I cannot fault how we played, and did the Leeds just get it done? I don't know what it is. And Brown obviously scoring 4 goals. He assisted the fifth goal as well. And obviously, I really do think we deserve something from that game, Swindon. And we did lose 5-4 in the end. But yeah, I'm just gutted for the lads because we did put in another really good road performance. And we've lost our last 4 losses have all been by 1 goal. And I can't put my finger on it because we've played well and I don't have really any complaints from it either.
Yeah, I can't say I watched the Leeds game. I didn't watch a game on Sunday. I took a break, but yeah, it was disappointing to see that we again lost the game by a goal. But not many people go to Leeds and lose by 1 goal, and yeah, it's just we're starting games off really well, and then in the third period, don't know what it is. It's difficult. This league's competitive, and it's credit to the league that all these games are 1 goal. And I think at some point this year we'll be winning loads of games by 1 goal, and we'll be going,
Yeah.
we love it. So yeah, that's hockey. But yeah, big game for Kieran Brown and Barron. It seemed like they were both on fire on that game, and yeah, just keeping getting him rolling. And this is the thing with Leeds. I said this to Dan, I think the other week, is they don't need the whole top six firing. They just need one line. And that one line can win them a game. And that's the power of Leeds' depth. Is one night Finn Braden will score two, and the next night Matt Bissonette will score two, and then the next night Howlett will win you the game, and then Brown will score four. It's a very very strong team in numbers. So yeah, it's difficult going there, and you can't really complain with Swindon. We're playing good hockey. It's disappointing we're losing by 1 goal, but we'll have to move on and just keep playing the way we are because we've got a tough weekend coming up as well.
Yeah. One interesting thing I actually noticed, obviously we had Matt Hayward on last weekend and we were talking to him about that line with him, Bissonette and Barron. But very clever from Aldridge because I think he kind of knew maybe that Kieran Brown needed a bit of form or get back to what we've seen from him, and he stuck Brown with Barron and Bissonette, and it just worked to treat Dan. And it's little things like that which maybe fans might not notice, but that could have been a little turning point to get Brown back on his level, and it worked to treat on Sunday, didn't it?
100%. I mean, Charlie said it, and we always talk about it. Hockey is a big mentality game, and having a player that's sort of Brown's is quality. Um, you obviously you sometimes just think he's going to be able to perform like that every night, and it's a lot of pressure on a player like Brown. Obviously, people are going to be looking at him every time, every game. They're going to be looking at him, and I think when he's not performing at his best that he knows he can, I think that can affect him as well. And yeah, like you say, putting him on a line that's really doing good this year, I think gives him that little boost and sort of shows him that he can do it, and the fact that he sort of feels himself again. And I mean, it's scary for the rest of the league because he might have all of a sudden just started picking it up again. So I mean, yeah, it's not good for the rest of the league, but for Brown himself and obviously the Leeds fans and the Leeds team, always going to be a positive when you got a guy like that cooking.
I think he got an 8 point weekend. Like he's going to be hunting. I know he's quite a few behind at the moment, but we know he's going to be hunting for that top point scoring spot again. On to the next game. And Dan, you watched the stream for this. Just an absolute goal fest. 9-5. Milton Keynes and Hull. There's goal after goal after goal. I'm seeing Griffin score at 8:59, and then from the face-off, Cornell scores at 9:14. Obviously you were watching the stream, Dan. It seemed like it was a very even first period, and that the goals just started flooding in from there. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it was a typical MK whole game. You know what it's going to be like. It's going to be physical, going to be a bit gritty. There was a few gritty plays going on, which you always love to see. Um, Obviously MK and Hull, they love that sort of game. I think Hull sometimes can sort of get drawn into it a bit too much, and I think that can affect their game as well. Um, but it's just again the quality of MK coming through. You saw Max Stewart getting 4 goals. He's had a great start to the year. I mean, Spadafor, I thought he had a good game. Um, I did say in the chat, I said when he's not jumping into his hits and when he's using his stick and defensive stick, he's actually really, really effective. and he used it a lot. He used it a lot last night, and you can really see what he can bring in that defensive side of his game. But I said it to Charlie, 100% Cornell was the best guy on the ice. 100%. He was literally levels above everyone, both sides of the ice. His defensive play, his offensive play. He just looked like he was going to score every shot he had. And yeah, he. I think that's. I haven't seen a lot of him, but that's probably 100% the best guy on the ice by far.
Yeah, it's one of that. I've watched him a couple of times. He's quite quiet when I watched him against Sheffield, but that was his first game back after his ban. And then last night against Swindon, he was quiet, quite quiet up until that kind of final bit where Hull put on the pressure. But it sounds like he had a really solid game last night. He obviously got the hat trick, all assisted by Sobchak, who just racks up the assists. But shout out to Max Stewart. You can tell how much he's improved. He's being given bigger moments now, I think, this season. He's with the absence of a couple players last season, from last season, like Stuart Herman, he's really stepping up. Obviously, Sisters isn't in the lineup, so he's being relied on even more. But getting 4 goals, it's just MK when they're on it. They're gonna put pucks on there, and fair play to them because they kept going. We've said sometimes they can take their foot off the gas, but they didn't. A tough night, it has to be said, for both Hull goalies. I was watching the highlights. Obviously, McLaughlin had a tough start, maybe a couple will want back, and then Zamostra come in, and we saw how good he was on Saturday night, but a couple snuck through him as well, didn't they, Dan, in that third period? So just, I think, a night to forget for the Seahawks. Obviously, that put him out of the cup as well. We know that they're missing Hodgkinson. He's not quite signed
He'll
until
be back. He'll be back next week.
next
They
week, so
said that.
that'll be a big
Yeah, yeah.
addition. They're missing Hayward with a long-term injury, I think, I read. So it's a tough one, Charlie. We said at the start of the season though, they've got I think this was your quote. They've got a Declan Palmer-sized hole at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and it was tough seeing Matty's interview. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but yeah, he's struggling. They didn't qualify for the cup this year, and the emotions are hit high when teams who would have wanted to qualify for the cup don't. Peterborough, Swindon, and Hull aren't qualified for a cup. That's a big three teams who all could have won it, but we're not even there in the semi-final. It's difficult. It's tough as a fan, and I dread to think what it's like as a coach. But you've got to remember it's the first loss for a Hull at
At
home.
home, yeah,
First loss of the season. I think every single team in the league's lost at home,
yeah,
and Hull are the last team to lose at home, which shows. But it's frustrating because on a weekend where they could have maybe grabbed 2 points in Swindon, and it would have been okay. At least we got 2 points. They didn't get anything, and the frustrations they are tough. But there's some positives for them. Bruton looked really good when we watched him and stuff. But this is the National League. That's the thing of the National League is it's an up and down league. We were speaking to Cam about it, and every team can beat every team now, and it really is like that. And I said earlier, Bristol now can beat teams, whereas last year they struggled to, and that now means every game is a challenge at times, and so it means that teams drop games they don't want to drop. And yeah, I think Hull will get back going soon, but it's about finding that mojo again and finding that D system which works and really getting into form.
yeah. It's a tough one, and we said this exact same thing, didn't we, Dan, about Telford? Teams are going to go through slumps. Even Swindon a bit in away games where we can't quite close out the games. Teams will go through these patches, but you're only going to learn from them. And come the end of the season, where it is crunch time towards the playoffs, those moments it could go in Hull's favour because they've learned from those kind of things, haven't they? And it's a tough night for the whole team. Like conceding 9 goals at home, it's a tough night for any team, but you're only going to learn from that, aren't you?
Yeah, the thing is, like we've said, like with Hull, they are a very offensive-sided team.
Yeah,
They are obviously very one-sided on the offense, and the thing is, when you're sort of chasing a game, you're sort of always looking for that offensive play, and that can leave gaps, obviously, in the defense.
yeah,
And when you are very obviously quite open on the D anyway, like you said with injuries, and you've obviously got the Bournemouth-sized hole, um, it is tough. And I mean, like we said, McLaughlin didn't have a night that he wanted to remember. I think Matty made a good call, obviously bringing him out at 5-4 because
yeah,
some of the goals were a bit rough. but Vizsla Mostra coming in halfway through a game, it's never easy for a goalie. And yeah, I think they just need to sort of work on getting the defensive side first, and then the offense will come instead of just going all for the offense. Because in this league now, like I said at the weekend, a few seasons ago, they would have been fine, but now you can't rely on just scoring more goals than the other team, and you really just need to sort of keep them out your own net, and then the goals will come on the other end.
It's a good point because 5 goals would normally win you a game. 5 goals for us would probably win us most games, but you have to build on that defense. I know they've got a few players out and they'll get them back across the week. I think they've only got a 1 game weekend next week, so be key for them to get that win, have the week off, maybe rest some legs. Maybe they're a bit tired as well. And we'll see how it goes. But that's the National League. That's hockey, highs and lows of hockey.
And also MK's power play, there was a few people talking about it on a Saturday night, but the Sunday night was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
I think they scored 3 or 2 power play goals.
Yeah.
Their power play looked really strong. I think I said in the chat as well, one power play they literally held the zone for the whole 2 minutes. They played the puck round so well and opened up hole a lot on the power play, and that's when you've got a power play of that quality. That's what they're going to love, and especially when they bring that over into their own rink and their big zones.
Yeah. The next game we won't talk too much about because we actually did mention it. We've mentioned it quite a few times, but is that Peterborough versus Bristol? And congratulations to Peterborough getting that 4-point weekend. You have once you beat MK, it's very hard to then go into your next game against a team who you should be beating in Bristol and go and get the job done. And fair play to them, they got the job done. But as we've said, Bristol last season probably when they go 5-0 down, 5-1 down, they probably lose that 8-9-1 maybe. But this season it just shows it's a different mentality, getting a couple late goals as well, battling back right to that final buzzer. So fair play to Bristol for battling back in that. But Peterborough just think they got a streak of their own at home. I think that's 7 or 8 now, home wins in a row. So a lot of teams creating these streaks at home. The final game of the weekend, and I think there's one guy written all over. Wow, 2 guys. You mentioned it at the start, Charlie. David Thompson. He prefers a through the legs to just a normal forehand snipe, doesn't he? He seems to get just as much power going through the legs and putting it top bins. He's done it twice now in 2 weeks. His 2 goals were the winners, 2-0. But I think it's safe to say Brad Day, I think all the plaudits should go to him this weekend. He's had a tough season. We know what he can be like. We know what the best of Brad Day is. We've seen it for years and years. And a 35 save shutout, that is just going to do him the world of good, Charlie, confidence-wise. And with the team building confidence as well, I think I think they can go on a nice little run.
Yeah, I think Telford are on form now, and with a hot goaltender, 2 hot imports, some good Brits, yeah, they'll go on a run there. They're back to the old Telford, and yeah, it's going to be a good battle for that playoff spot at the moment. I think it looks like 8th to 11th is a battle for the playoff spot, and yeah, Solway, Bristol, Bees, and Telford, none of them want to miss out on it. So every game is a playoff game.
Yeah. Right, that's all the games from this weekend.
One thing I will say is the one team we didn't mention, and they did have a go at us back in the thing a little bit. I know it's joking, but Solway obviously had their 1 game weekend. It didn't go great for them. It would have been a bit of a rough bus journey back. But there's not much to talk about on the Solway front.
Yeah, I know.
It was a 2-1 loss, but I thought I'd mention them. And who scored their goal?
It was Boyd. He's got back-to-backs.
Oh, I like Boyd. Me and Dan like Boyd because Boyd
can skate really well.
Boyd is the Scottish Jacob Ransom.
Yeah, he is. Forechecking, gets in with the goals. You need those type of players. But this might sound like a bit of a dickhead comment, but they're feeling what we felt last year. Last week. Obviously, we went all the way up to Solway, and we saw them score in the last seconds, and now they're feeling what we felt. I'm not saying it at all.
But we only had to
is just
stop down the road.
They
didn't. We didn't have to do a 6-hour trip after that.
Well, we did.
Imagine we went all the way up to Solway. Imagine we went all the way up to Solway for 1 game, and we didn't have a game on the Sunday. And we lost it in the last 30 seconds. and then drove the 6 hours back.
Oh my
I
God.
feel for Solway there, man. I do. I do.
Yeah.
And one game weekends are tough, man, because you lose that one
You
game.
want to just get it back straight away,
You
don't you?
lose that one game, and you're just like, we got 0 points this weekend. We can't make up for it tomorrow. We got to wait a whole week to make up for the loss we just put out. And it's a game where it's like it's ironic really because Solway, the one thing they probably struggle with a little bit this year is just to keep the score down.
Yeah.
They're good at scoring this year, but they've struggled to
Yeah, it's true actually. Yeah.
not let the goals go in. And then they don't let the goals go in. They let two in, and one was in 8 seconds to go. But then they only score one. It's just it's one of the things. But they got a positive. I'm sure they got 2 games next week. I can't imagine you have
Well,
that.
they've got Bristol at home, so they can get
Oh,
their
there you go. There's
revenge.
the revenge. Send Bristol back to Bristol with 0 points, and you get your revenge back. So yeah, I'm sure that's fun.
Um, right, the cup then. The top four teams who have made it. I think this is official. Because Romford got Peterborough on head to head, but Leeds, Milton Keynes, Sheffield, and Romford. Now the order isn't actually fully finalised, but if Leeds win their final game, they do get that top. Sorry, if they win one of their 2 games, or even get a point in them, they finish top and they can choose
I saw a
which
good
team.
comment about the choosing.
I think they'll go with Sheffield
Yeah, me too.
because
Travel.
travel on a midweek, it's quite close. They've had a good record against Sheffield this season. Leeds could be any of them really. Like Leeds are Leeds. But yeah,
Oh mate, I want them to pick Sheffield because the
Romford
other side
MK
excites me so
semi-final.
much. Because them
Oh
two
my
have had rivalries over years. The only thing which frustrates me is the fact that the second game's in MK. I would have loved a second game in Romford. That would have been the dream. But I know both fan bases are looking at that Romford MK game going, let's have it.
Well, that's we're just assuming that Leeds would pick Sheffield, but that
I'd be
we're just
surprised if
saying
they didn't.
that would
I'd be surprised if they didn't because
yeah.
they've had. I said to Jack when Leeds are most likely going to top the group, I said they've had Sheffield's number this year. They beat them 5-2 at home, one of the only teams to really fair and
You mean
square
away in Sheffield.
away, and then they beat them 7-1 at home.
No,
I
7-0.
know it wasn't a 7-1, 7-0. I know it wasn't a 7-0 game from what we've been told, but they seem to have their number so far this year, so it would make sense.
I
And
think
there's
location as well. Like
yeah, there's
midweek, it is a big factor.
cheaper
Um,
coach as well, I can imagine.
yeah. But yeah, I think the Romford guys have said that we can go on comms, so I might ask if I can do the commentary in that semi-final game, possibly at Romford if they well whoever they get. But yeah, those are the 4 teams which have made the cup. So congratulations to them. There was always going to be some teams missing out. We said there's going to be a couple shocks, and it is safe to say Romford, I think, is a shock for a lot of people. So fair play to them. And I'm always rooting for the underdogs. I'd love Romford to do it. Like, I think that'd be amazing if they can go and do it. And the fact that, like, Yokoyama's been brilliant, but the fact they're doing it without Leishram as well, I think is a credit to them. So yeah. Anything else to add? I think this has been quite a long episode. We've
Um,
obviously got a 3 game weekend, which I love because it means hockey Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But yeah, it's gonna be a toughie.
we were doing shout outs earlier, so shout out to Thomas Malazinski for hitting 700 points for Swindon Wildcats
Oh, we forgot
and
to mention it. Yeah.
being the best player in the National League.
Yeah, you forgot to mention it, but I don't think you were aware. But yeah, Tomasz hit 700 last week. Dan,
I only do big milestones, so 1,000 only.
Dan, anything else to add?
Nah, nothing for me.
Nice. Again, thanks for Cam for hopping on. We appreciate that. I know we've got another couple guests who'd love to hop on as well. But yeah, we appreciate all the support. Make sure you do subscribe, follow all our socials at Macca's Talk Hockey. And don't be afraid to come and say hello to us. We love having chats about hockey. That's all we do on this podcast as well. So yeah, we appreciate all the support, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.